Every Zelda game starts the same way. You walk outside, you see a world, and you think, I wonder what's over there. That instinct has driven 38 years of exploration across dozens of maps, from 128 screens on an NES cartridge to 82 square kilometers of open sky, surface, and underground. Today, I'm breaking down every single Zelda World Map and what makes each one tick, starting with the one that built the blueprint, the Kingdom of Hyrule. The original Legend of Zelda map is 128 screens, a 16 by 8 grid you could sketch on a napkin. The entire game fits inside 128 kilobytes of ROM. For context, that's smaller than a single low-resolution photo on your phone. But here's the thing, Miyamoto designed it that way, on purpose. No quest markers, no minimap, no glowing objective trail. You were expected to memorize every screen, every rock, every suspicious bush, and millions of players actually did it. What most people don't realize is there's a second map hiding underneath. The underworld exists as its own separate 16 by 8 grid, layered below the surface. Even in 1986, Zelda was already stacking worlds on top of each other. Then, there's the second quest. Beat the game once, and every dungeon relocates. Every hidden item moves. The entire game reshuffles itself using the exact same 128 screens. 0 new tiles, double the content. This tiny map is the DNA of everything that came after. Every Zelda world you've ever explored evolved from this napkin-sized grid. But the next game took that template and literally split it in half. The Dark World, A Link to the Past, did something in 1991 that the series would never stop doing. It took a world you already knew and ruined it. And the result was one of the most unsettling map designs in Nintendo history. Here's the setup. The Light World is a 16 by 12 screen grid. Clean, colorful, classic Hyrule. The Dark World is the exact same grid, mirrored one-to-one, except it's not. And that's the entire trick. Players walk in expecting a reflection, and instead get something deliberately wrong. Passages that should connect don't. Dungeons sit in places that make zero sense compared to their Light World counterparts. The symmetry is close enough to feel familiar, but broken enough to feel corrupted, like someone copied your homework but changed all the answers to something worse. The development team spent 6 additional months building this thing after the Light World was already finished, going tile by tile to create inversions that felt intentionally off rather than just flipped. And the population tells the story too. The Light World has over 12 female NPCs wandering around. The Dark World has 3. The realm doesn't just look corrupted, it feels emptied out. But the best detail is what happens when you walk in unprepared. Link transforms into a pink bunny rabbit. Not a wolf, not a shadow creature, a pink rabbit. Early development actually intended this to be permanent until players found a specific artifact, which is, not ideal for the guy trying to save the world. But if the Dark World asked, what if your world got corrupted? The next game asked something far stranger. What if your world never existed at all? Koholint Island. Every Zelda world you explore is real. The kingdom exists, the people matter, and the ground beneath your feet is solid, except once. Koholint Island is a lie. The entire thing, every screen, every character, every dungeon, exists inside the dream of a giant sleeping whale called the Windfish. You wake him up and the island vanishes. Everyone on it ceases to exist. They included that in a Game Boy game from 1993. Years before it was all a dream became a mainstream trick in gaming. Here's the thing, before you even get to that gut punch ending, the island itself is quietly impressive. The overworld is a 16 by 16 screen grid, making it nearly twice the size of the original 1986 Hyrule on a Game Boy. A system with a screen the size of a postage stamp was running a world that dwarfed the one that started the entire franchise, and the design is dense. Koholint was the first Zelda game to pack thematically distinct regions into a single map. Forests, underwater sections, ice caverns, all crammed onto one tiny island. The dream logic gives them permission to put whatever they want, wherever they want. But here's the detail that still gets people. Each of the 8 dungeons has a floor plan shaped like a distinct symbol. An eagle, a bottle, a face. Most players never notice because you're too busy solving puzzles to zoom out and look at the architecture. The developers hid visual secrets in the geometry of every dungeon, and the majority of players walked right over them without knowing. Everything you explored, protected, and fought for simply never existed, which is, not ideal. But if a dream world on a handheld can make you feel that kind of loss, imagine what a full 3D console could do. Hyrule, Ocarina of Time. This is where everything changed. Every Zelda map before this one was something you looked down at. A grid, a top-down puzzle you navigated with a bird's eye view. Ocarina of Time put you inside the world and told you to figure it out. Hyrule Field is the connective tissue, a sprawling open area linking together distinct regions. Zora's Domain, Goron City, Gerudo Valley, the Lost Woods, Lake Hylia, Lon Lon Ranch, Kakariko Village, Kokiri Forest, all of it stitched together into a seamless seamless 3D world that felt massive for 1998. Walking across Hyrule Field alone took minutes. Back then, that was basically infinite. But the map itself isn't the achievement. The time mechanic is. You pull the Master Sword from its pedestal as a kid, and you wake up 7 years later as an adult. Same world, completely different. Hyrule Castle is in ruins. The market is crawling with re-deads. Lake Hylia is half-drained. And the game does all of this without a single loading screen. You just walk outside the Temple of Time and the apocalypse happened while you were asleep, which is, not ideal. Here's the thing. The Temple of Time is the only structure that looks exactly the same in both eras. Everything else decays, floods, burns, or gets overrun, but that one building stays frozen. It's the anchor point, the one constant in a world that fell apart around it. There's something genuinely poetic about that. The game packs in 9 main dungeons and 2 mini dungeons, plus the overworld areas connecting all of it. For a cartridge-based game on the N64, the sheer density of explorable space was unmatched. Ocarina of Time didn't just define Zelda's future, it defined open-world design for the next 15 years. But if you think Hyrule's time mechanic was intense, wait until you see what they did with time in Termina. Termina is the only world in Zelda history where everybody dies. Not metaphorically, not in a cutscene you can prevent. The moon crashes into Clock Town every 72 in-game hours, and every single person you've met, helped, or ignored gets obliterated. Then you rewind time and do it all again. The map itself is split into 5 regions. Clock Town at the center, then swamp, mountain, ocean, and Iconic Canyon radiating outward like spokes on a wheel that's rolling toward a cliff. It's not a massive world. It doesn't need to be, because you're not exploring it once. You're exploring it dozens of times, each loop peeling back another layer, while that grotesque moon inches closer overhead. Here's where it gets complicated. Termina isn't really one map, it's 4 maps layered on top of each other. Link has 4 transformation maps that fundamentally change how he interacts with the environment. Deku Link can skip across water. Goron Link can barrel through obstacles. Zora Link can dive into underwater passages. And entire areas across Termina are completely inaccessible in human form. You literally cannot reach them without the right face on. No other Zelda game does this. The geography stays the same, but your ability to exist within it shifts constantly depending on what you're wearing. It's like having invisible walls that only disappear when you become something else entirely. The map isn't gated by items or progression, it's gated by identity. And the whole time, the clock is ticking. Every NPC has a schedule. Every quest has a window. Miss it, and the moon handles the rest. Which is, not ideal. But if Termina makes you dread the horizon, wait until the next world removes the horizon entirely and replaces it with open ocean in every direction. The Great Sea, Wind Waker gave players the biggest Zelda world ever made and then put almost nothing in it. And honestly, that's either genius or insanity depending on who you ask. The Great Sea is a 7x7 grid of ocean squares totaling 49 quadrants spread across roughly 49 square kilometers. That's massively larger than Ocarina of Time's entire Hyrule. More named locations too, 26 compared to Ocarina's 16. On paper, this should feel like the most packed, most ambitious Zelda world to date. But here's the thing, 85% of that ocean contains nothing. Water, a few barrels, maybe a floating platform if you're lucky. You could sail for minutes in a straight line and encounter absolutely 0 points of interest. And sailing the full map without the swift sail, that took anywhere from 13 to 20 minutes of real time, just holding a direction and watching waves. The 2013 HD remaster on Wii U eventually halved that to around 6 to 10 minutes after years of players begging Nintendo to fix it, which is, an acknowledgement. But here's where the debate gets interesting. That emptiness wasn't a mistake. The entire narrative of Wind Waker is about a drowned, dying world. Hyrule is gone. Civilization is scattered across tiny rocks, poking out of an endless flood. The loneliness you feel sailing between those 49 islands, that is the story. You're not exploring a thriving kingdom. You're drifting through the aftermath of one. So the question that's divided this fanbase for over 2 decades is simple. Does atmosphere justify boredom? Some players swear the empty ocean is the most immersive thing the series ever did. Others would rather eat a GameCube disc than sit through another 3-minute sail to an island with 1 chest on it. I don't know what to tell you. They're both right, but if you thought navigating one massive ocean was polarizing, wait until Nintendo made you do it again on a DS touchscreen. The World of the Ocean King. This is the weird one. Every Zelda game before Phantom Hourglass asked you to press a button to move through its world. This one handed you a stylus and said, draw where you want to go. And somehow, that changed everything about how the map felt. Phantom Hourglass takes Wind Waker's ocean and strips away the grid. Instead of 49 neatly organized squares, you get 4 sea quadrants: northeastern, northwestern, southeastern, and southwestern, each containing a handful of islands scattered organically across the water. Mersey Island sits in the southwestern sea as your home base, not centered, but tucked into a corner. It's messier, less structured, and weirdly, that makes it feel more like an actual ocean. But here's the thing that defined this game's identity. You literally drew your sailing path on the DS touchscreen. Your ship followed the line you traced. It sounds like a gimmick, and honestly, it kinda was, but it also made navigation feel tactile in a way no Zelda map had achieved before. You weren't inputting directions, you were charting a course, like a tiny, slightly incompetent cartographer. Fast travel was limited to a few mapped waypoints per region, which meant the sea functioned purely as a navigation space. No enemies lurking in the deep, no underwater temples, just water, wind, and your questionable drawing skills. Now, the Temple of the Ocean King. This single structure changed its configuration every time you revisited it, creating 6 separate dungeon layouts across the game's chapters. One building, 6 different experiences. In practice, players either loved the evolving puzzle design or wanted to throw their DS into the ocean. Zero middle ground. That tension between clever reuse and tedious repetition basically defines Phantom Hourglass's entire legacy. But it also positioned this map as the bridge between Wind Waker's vast emptiness and the tighter worlds the series would explore next. Speaking of which, the next game didn't just experiment with its map, it split reality in half. The Twilight Realm Twilight Princess gave us one of the largest Hyrules the series had ever seen, spread across a massive overworld of distinct provinces, and then said, cool, now here's a cursed version of it you have to crawl through as a wolf. And honestly, nobody talks about how insane that is. The Twilight Realm is technically a separate dimension, an entirely different plane of existence that bleeds into Hyrule like ink soaking through paper. When Twilight covers a province, the landscape warps into this suffocating shadow version of itself, drenched in shadow particles, inverted colors, and an atmosphere that feels like someone put the entire kingdom through a photo-negative filter. Same bones, completely different skin. It's like visiting your childhood home and finding out someone rearranged everything just enough to make you deeply uncomfortable. Wolflink is the only way to interact with this layer, which means there are 60 post holes scattered across the map that are literally invisible in human form. You could walk past the same spot 50 times as regular Link and never know there's a collectible floating 3 feet from your face. That's an entire ghost economy operating on a frequency you can't access without fur. Beneath the surface, hidden grottos and cave systems create an underground layer threaded throughout the overworld. So you've got normal Hyrule on top, Twilight-drenched Hyrule when the shadow falls, and a cave network running underneath both. Multiple layers of explorable space stacked on top of each other. The mirror of Twilight makes it even wilder. It's shattered into fragments scattered across the world, and reassembling it is the only way to physically cross into the true Twilight Realm. Every shard you recover means diving into a dungeon built around that fragment, and the final reconstruction opens the gate to Xant's domain. You're not just exploring a world, you're rebuilding the key to invade another one. Some fans call this the last great traditional Zelda map before the series went fully experimental, and honestly, they might be right. But if you think layered worlds peaked here, wait until you see what Nintendo did when they pointed the camera straight up. Skyloft and the surface. Skyward Sword invented the vertical layer system that Tears of the Kingdom gets all the credit for. 12 years before anyone was diving into the depths or launching off Sky Islands, Skyward Sword quietly built the entire blueprint and nobody cared, because they were too busy complaining about motion controls. Here's how it works. Skyloft sits in the clouds as the most compact hub world in the entire series. A tight cluster of islands with a bazaar, a knight academy, and not much else. Below that, the surface spans 3 major regions: Faron Woods, Elden Volcano, and Lanayru Desert. Each one is a self-contained zone you dive down to from the sky. No seamless open world, just focused, dense areas connected by the clouds above them. Sky and surface. 2 tiers. Sound familiar? But the layers aren't just stacked on top of each other for show. 27 goddess cubes are scattered across the surface, and every single one corresponds to a specific treasure chest floating in the sky. Hit a cube on the ground, a chest unlocks above the clouds. It's a one-to-one correspondence system that physically ties the 2 realms together through gameplay. The sky and the surface aren't separate worlds, they're 2 halves of the same reward loop, and then the timeshift stones add another layer on top of everything. Activate one in Lanayru Desert, and the immediate area snaps backward in time. Sand becomes ocean, ruins become functioning facilities. Dead robots start talking to you. You're navigating temporal geography on top of the physical layers. Divisive game? Absolutely. But the map design was a decade ahead of its time, and Tears of the Kingdom basically took its homework and got an A, which is, not ideal for Skyward Sword's legacy. But if you think borrowing map ideas across dimensions is complicated, wait until you see what happens when an entire kingdom gets its own evil twin. Lorule. Lorule is the spiritual successor to the Dark World, and it knows it. A link between worlds doesn't try to hide the DNA. You've got a fractured, inverted version of Hyrule with major regions that correspond directly to Light World counterparts, but with significantly altered geography. Crumbling cliffs where there were once rolling hills. Lava pits where there were once lakes. The whole thing feels like Hyrule after a really bad century. But here's what makes Lorule genuinely special. It's not evil. The Dark World back in 1991 was a corrupted hellscape, a place that turned you into a pink rabbit just for showing up without the right gear. Lorule isn't that. Both worlds are shown to be struggling. Both have people trying to survive. Both have rulers making desperate choices. That's a massive narrative upgrade, because suddenly the Mirror Realm isn't just a gameplay gimmick. It's a place you actually care about, and the way you get there is arguably the most elegant world swap mechanic in the entire series. Link merges into walls as a painting and slides between dimensions through cracks in the geometry. No portals on a map, no magical instruments. You literally flatten yourself against a wall, scoot sideways, and pop out in another reality. It's tactile, it's intuitive, and it makes exploration feel like puzzle solving rather than fast travel with extra steps. The scope is impressive too. 11 main dungeons spread across both worlds, sharing thematic similarities but featuring completely different layouts and puzzle solutions, so nothing feels recycled. Link merges into walls as a painting and slides between dimensions through cracks in the geometry. No portals on a map, no magical instruments. You literally flatten yourself against a wall, scoot sideways, and pop out in another reality. It's tactile, it's intuitive, and it makes exploration feel like puzzle solving rather than fast travel with extra steps. The scope is impressive too. 11 main dungeons spread across both worlds, sharing thematic similarities but featuring completely different layouts and puzzle solutions, so nothing feels recycled. 100 Maya creatures are scattered across both dimensions, giving you a reason to comb every corner of every map. And Lorule Castle, while it sits in a region corresponding to Hyrule Castle's area, feels like an entirely different beast, with unique architecture and design that makes it stand apart from anything in the Light World. Nintendo had been iterating on this dual world idea since 1991. Lorule is where they finally perfected it. But if you think perfecting the formula was impressive, wait until you see what happened when they threw the formula out entirely. Hyrule, Breath of the Wild. This is the map that broke everything. After 35 years of carefully gated progression, locked doors, and dungeon items that slowly peeled back the world one region at a time, Breath of the Wild looked at all of that and said, nah. You finish the Great Plateau tutorial, you get your paraglider, and the entire kingdom of Hyrule is just sitting there. All of it. Every square kilometer. Go wherever you want. And there are a lot of square kilometers to go to. Breath of the Wild's Hyrule spans approximately 61.2 square kilometers. That's 11 times larger than Twilight Princess, 26 times larger than Ocarina of Time. The map that blew everyone's minds in 1998 fits inside this one 26 times over. Let that sink in for a second. But the raw size isn't even the real revolution. It's the y-axis. For the first time in series history, Zelda maps had a meaningful vertical dimension. You could climb literally anything. Every cliff face, every wall, every random tree if you felt like it. Paragliding turned mountaintops into launch pads. Swimming gave you water routes. Suddenly, altitude wasn't decoration, it was a core navigation mechanic. You weren't just asking where am I on the map, you were asking how high up am I, and what can I see from here? 120 shrines are scattered across 15 major named regions, each with its own biome, its own weather, its own ways to kill you. Volcanic heat, freezing cold, electrical storms. Every region feels like its own little world crammed inside one massive one, and none of them are locked behind progression gates. 0. You can walk straight to Hyrule Castle from the tutorial if you're brave enough, or stupid enough. Both work. Then there are the Korok seeds, 900 of them, hidden under rocks, behind puzzles, in patterns you won't notice unless you're specifically losing your mind looking for them. Full completion takes over 200 hours, and your reward for finding all 900, a golden piece of poop. Literally. I don't know what to tell you, but if you thought Breath of the Wild's 3-layer cake of sky, surface, and exploration was ambitious, its sequel decided that wasn't nearly enough. The sky, surface, and depths. Tears of the Kingdom is the everything game. Every idea the series ever had about world design, every experiment across nearly 4 decades, all of it converges here, and the result is the most geographically ambitious Zelda map ever created. Possibly the most ambitious map in any game, period. The structure is deceptively simple. 3 layers. Sky above, surface in the middle, depths below. That's it. But here's the thing. Each of those layers is a fully explorable, fully realized world. The surface alone is a 1-to-1 recreation of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, all 60-something square kilometers of it. The sky islands float above, scattered across the atmosphere, like fragments of a civilization that literally ascended. And beneath everything painting. Stretching into total darkness, the depths mirror the surface in perfect inverted geography. That last part is the key. The depths aren't just a cave system, they're the dark world taken to its logical extreme. Every mountain on the surface becomes a valley below. Every lake becomes a plateau. It's a link to the past mirror concept cranked to a scale that would have melted a Super Nintendo into slag. Combined, the 3 layers cover 81.9 square kilometers of explorable terrain. 152 shrines are scattered across the surface and sky, while 120 light routes illuminate the depths below, each one positioned as a perfect mirror of a surface shrine. 1,000 Korok seeds distribute across all 3 layers, because of course they do. Theoretical 100% completion, north of 250 hours, which is, not ideal for your social life. But what makes the verticality work isn't just the size. It's that going up and down is baked into how you move. Balloons, platforms, updrafts, the ascend ability that lets you phase straight through ceilings. Verticality isn't a gimmick here. It's the grammar of the entire game. The sky layer even contains diorama islands, miniature replicas of surface geography that teach you puzzle solutions before you encounter the full-scale versions in the depths below. The sky trains you, the surface tests you, the depths punish you, and that's the arc. From Skyward Sword's tentative 3-tier experiment to Breath of the Wild's horizontal freedom to this, a world with 3 complete dimensions of exploration, each feeding into the others. In 1986, Hyrule was 128 screens, a world you could hold in your mind. In 2023, it's a world that could take you 250 hours to fully see, and you still wouldn't have found everything. That's not just a bigger map, that's a fundamentally different relationship between a player and a world. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.